Okay, I'm back out here in Scheyville National Park, and I'm going to trek across, probably about halfway across the park to an old farm dam where there's lots of interesting water birds, and hoping to try to be able to video the water birds using the long lens, the EF 600mm. So yeah, a really interesting national park, and probably most relevantly for where I am, it was formerly a officer training school during the Vietnam War, and this particular place where I'm entering the national park was I think was the residence of the staff. So the actual sort of training staff and their families, I think, lived here. And so I believe there were houses up and down this street. And today there's only one, which I will show you in a second. So this is the only house that's left on the street. So it just looks like a normal sort of suburban house. Obviously, yeah, very dilapidated. It's actually changed since the last time I saw it. For the last few years, every time I've come past here, one of the key features has been the smashed glass windows, letting you see inside the house. And particularly if I'm starting here, before sunrise, or in the fog, I'm walking up the street and looking at this house with the smashed windows and looking into the empty rooms. It's always felt like it could well and truly be a haunted house, and you kind of half expected to see some sort of ghostly child to sort of wave at you out of the house. Yeah, you can see here that they've now, that must be the National Parks has now installed, probably due to the need to prevent vandalism, they've installed corrugated iron across where the windows were and across where I was going to say where the door is, but it looks like it might have been a window next to the door, just to stop people from, presumably vandals, from being able to get in and further destroy the house, which obviously has historical value. Okay, so now I'm on that street that I think was the street that all of the staff houses were on, and about to set off into the national park, set off into what was more probably the sort of the grazing lands and paddocks of the national park. I should just say, in relation to the bedroll, I'm not coming in to go camping or setting up tent or anything like that, but just I expect if I'm going to be on the edge of the dam, I'm likely to be wanting to get lower down, and it's very muddy around the dam, so just sort of helps if you're not sitting directly in the mud and getting damp. So good to be able to lay the roll down to either sit on or lie on for the purposes of photography or filming. Okay, now to head off into the national park. So that house that I mentioned that's still remaining is just down there, and then from walking up the street, you can see here's one of the old driveways just completely grown over. So I assume that there was actually originally a house in behind here, or possibly just they built the street and built the driveways and never got around to actually building any additional houses. So here I'm off the asphalt and now into the paddocks. What's one of the things that's really interesting about Scheyville is the population of cheetal deer that live in the national park, so feral deer. But it's incredible how they're originally from southern India or Sri Lanka, so not native to Australia at all, as no deer are native to Australia, but they are just so well suited to this environment, and so it's not uncommon that you'll see one suddenly sort of bound away from a few metres away from you and you just hadn't seen it at all. So it's sort of very important as you enter an environment to stop and look around to see if you can see any deer before they sort of turn around and run away, and it's too late to try and get any photos of them. I've got a mob of kangaroos sitting there watching me, wondering what I'm up to. I'm sure they'll move away as they get closer. So there are points on the trail where you sort of come up over a rise or come around a corner where basically suddenly a view or a vista will open up in front of you, and those are really, really important points to just proceed very carefully, because they're the points at which you're most likely to come across primarily deer that haven't seen you before you got to them. They haven't heard you coming because of the obstructions, or they haven't seen you coming. So very, very important that as you sort of proceed over those rises or around those corners, you're just proceeding very quietly and very carefully, and you're ready. Possibly because of just the sheer amount of gear I've got, I've been making too much noise. But I'm just sort of coming to one of those points here where I come up over a rise, and I've actually been able to see deer quite close on occasions when I've come up over that rise and photograph them. So I'm going to do that this time, and just be ready and see if I'm lucky. So here's that flat area, sort of more open area that I was just talking about. And what's really interesting about this is it just doesn't make any sense. Why is there this great big flat area in the middle of this national park? Everything else is sort of undulating or forested or whatever. This is just unnaturally flat. And what I've discovered is that actually this was a cricket pitch. So this was actually presumably built during the time of the when the national park was an officer training school during the Vietnam War, and there is a concrete cricket pitch in the middle of this space, which I will take you across to now. So yeah, there you go. There's the crazy concrete cricket pitch. I don't know if you can see the trees down at the end. Basically, a forest emerging around what used to be a cricket pitch, and you can even see that the concrete pitch here was originally painted green to simulate grass. So yeah, presumably a training or fitness activity for the trainees at the officer training school. I don't know if you can see this, but what we've got here is the sort of the berm of the presumably all the rock and soil that was pushed up to make that cricket pitch. So it's sort of like a berm, a sort of soil wall around the perimeter of the cricket pitch. But what's really interesting for me is the burrows here. That's sort of classic fox behaviour to build to burrow their den into the side of a bank. But this is unusual in that there's one, two, three burrows sort of here in a row. So and you can see from the digging around it that it's very fresh. There's freshly dug earth around these burrows. So I have previously set up a trail camera against one of these, and was interested to find that they're echidna burrows. They seem very large for for an animal as small as an echidna, and interested to see that echidnas will burrow in this way with sort of three separate entries, presumably onto the one burrow. I wasn't aware of that. So this is the old farm dam that I was looking for, that I was heading for. It's changed enormously since the last time I was here. I think the water level is up, but the density of the reeds and vegetation around the side of the dam has really gone down a lot. It used to be much thicker, and there's probably a lot less bird life that I'm seeing here. Last time I was here, I was probably in late summer. It was just teeming with bird life, and there were probably about 4 Australasian grebes. I think today I'm seeing some Eurasian coots, maybe some Pacific black ducks, but really not much else. But I think I'll still head around. The place that I go to is, you just see it over there, is the sort of the flat section. What makes me think the level of the water has risen is that my recollection is that I was lying on a mud bank over there last time, which doesn't seem to exist anymore. Feels like the water level has gone back, but hopefully I can find somewhere to lie there so I can sort of get down close to water level and see if there's any interesting photography to be had. So I'd probably rate that as a moderate disaster, a slight disaster. I'm a bit muddy, got a wet butt. I've been sitting in muddy water, and probably the main thing that just really wasn't working for me was primarily I was trying the 2x teleconverter on the 600mm lens with video, and just wasn't probably the aperture was too small for the autofocus, so just really wasn't the autofocus wasn't tracking with the video. It's really hard to do manual autofocus down that low when you haven't got a with video, when you haven't got a a separate screen on the camera. So I might have to think about that one and maybe try again. It was certainly seemed to be good getting down at the very low angle, the very low perspective, so that you've sort of got a nice clean background behind you. But yeah, I don't know whether I've captured any interesting footage. So I'll have another try with stills now. We've sort of brought everything back from the water's edge. Got a very muddy ground mat, but that's okay. So I'll try with stills, and then maybe we'll try for some forest birds. Okay, so you can probably just see the ant's nest here behind me. It's a good one in that it's got a sort of nice clear perimeter, a nice clear sort of edge between where the ants are active and where they're not. And I can actually sort of get access to one of the entrances to the ant's nest, one of the burrows, from the side, hopefully without getting too many ants crawling all over me. So I'm going to have a try at actually videoing the ants coming in and out of the burrow with the macro lens. I'd love to try to get down to sort of eye level to try and film at basically ground level with one of the nest openings, so that you can sort of be down at eye level with the ants and see them coming out. But it's probably already a bit too late, and I've got to start heading home. And obviously, it's a very fiddly thing to try and do, and a significant risk of getting bitten, so I won't try that. Okay, now to pack up and head back to the car.